Hello, welcome to another video. Today we are talking a little bit more about tapestry crochet. Now I'm gonna start this video by saying this is not a tutorial video. There was a little bit of confusion on my last video about tapestry crochet. This is just gonna be like my top 5 tips for if you're new to tapestry crochet and want a few little things to think about before you dive in or as you're starting your first project. So without further ado, let's jump in to my top 5-ish tips. So first of all, I'm gonna say start small. So my first project, I only had 2 different colors in it and I probably could have tried a coaster size. It still wasn't a super big project. It's in my last video, so if you want to go and see it, feel free to check that out. But there's so many tapestry crochet coaster patterns out there, and looking back, I think that probably would have been where I maybe should have started just to get the hang of a few different things, which I guess leads nicely into my next tip. My next tip is to practice your color changes. So if you haven't done much color work before, tapestry crochet typically has quite a lot of it, especially as you get into more intricate designs. So again, if you pick like a small project that has 2 or maybe even 3 colors, you can really practice that color work and the tension in your color work and just managing different colors while you're crocheting. If you haven't done it before, it can be a little bit tricky. So I would definitely suggest just starting with something where you can just practice those color changes. Even if it's not a project that is actually a tapestry crochet, it's just you crocheting a square and practicing changing colors. It's a really good place to start and it'll set you up really well for bigger tapestry crochet projects that you might move on to. The next tip is similar to the previous one and it's all going to be about practice. This one is practice getting your tension right. It's a really good thing to do, especially if you haven't crocheted much before. You might be able to skip this tip if you crochet a lot and you're just moving into tapestry as opposed to doing something like amigurumi or wearables. I will say that with tapestry crochet, I came to it from doing a lot of like plushies and stuff like that, so I do have relatively tight tension. If you've come from wearables or something that uses really loose tension, then you might still want to do like a practice swatch or again like a small project to start, just to make sure that your tension kind of correlates to the tapestry crochet style. You don't really want a super gappy tapestry crochet project, so you might need to tighten up your tension a bit if you are a looser crocheter. And I guess part of that is with your tension is also practicing getting your floats right. So I suppose there are different ways of doing tapestry crochet. I personally, and I have a project here, I have floats, these bits of yarn that kind of sit at the back of your work or float at the back of your work. I don't crochet over those. Some people will just crochet directly over all of their floats so that their back is really nice and neat. I find that if I'm doing that, especially if I was doing that on this piece and I was crocheting over the black with the white, it would show through a little bit and I don't want to risk that. So I use floats, but the thing with these is if you have your floats too tight, it'll pucker the work at the front. So part of this practicing your tension isn't just the tension of your stitches, but also practicing the tension of your floats and how much kind of, I guess, how much slack to leave in them, I guess is a word that I'm going to use. So that wraps up this tip, is practice your tension. If you're finding that as you're working your tapestry crochet, it's curling up a little bit, you're probably using too tight tension on it. And if you feel like the design's a little bit sloppy or has holes in it, then you probably are using a little bit too loose tension and need to tighten it up. So practice. All of these basically come back to practice, but they are all different things to focus on, so I'm calling them different tips, okay? Tip number 4 is to use stitch markers. Now, I know this might sound counterintuitive because you're just working in rows and not in the round or anything like that, but for a project like this, especially if I want to be working on it while I'm like watching TV or you know, only kind of half paying attention to it, which you can do with tapestry crochet because it is all single crochets. But if I'm not paying attention and I'm not using stitch markers, I will definitely miss my color changes. So what I do on a piece like this is I'll grab a stitch marker. When I finish my row, I will look at the next row of my pattern, count out where I need to change colors in the next row, and place stitch markers in each of those, so that then while I'm watching The Office or whatever I'm watching, I can just crochet starting with one color, and when I hit the next stitch marker, it's like a reminder for me that I'm going to need to change color now. So that's how I use stitch markers in my tapestry crochet work. I obviously haven't gone and done it on this row yet, but I will. I think a lot of people crochet while they're watching TV, and one thing that stopped me from wanting to do tapestry crochet was because I really like to just kind of mindlessly zone out, do my crochet while I watch something, or while I watch a YouTube video, or, you know, something on TV or whatever it is, and I felt like I couldn't do that because I needed to be paying attention to when my colors were changing. So using stitch markers means that I only sort of need to pay attention for like 1 minute to put all my stitch markers in, and then I can just zone out again and work the row. So my final tip is around the yarn that you use. I think that choosing yarn is like the biggest hurdle to starting tapestry crochet. I don't know about other people, but I wanted to start tapestry crocheting, I want to say like 5 to 6 months before I actually started a tapestry crochet project, and like 90% of that was because I was just so paralyzed with indecision about what yarn to use. I did slightly touch on this in my last video on tapestry crochet, but I'm reiterating it because a lot of people commented saying this was also their biggest hurdle. So I'm gonna let you in on a secret. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what yarn you use, especially when you are just starting out your tapestry crochet, as long as all of the colors that you choose for that one project are the same weight of yarn and ideally the same brand of yarn, you're gonna be fine. I wanted to like commit to a whole bunch of colors because I was gonna get really into tapestry crochet and do heaps of them. And at the end of the day, I just needed to do my first project in whatever I had in the same weight of yarn. So that is the biggest thing that I like. If you take away anything from this video, it's that you can use kind of any yarn that you want. That said, when I did my first tapestry crochet, I just used an 8-ply, which is roughly a DK weight, and acrylic yarn. They come in like a huge range of colors here in Australia, so I could choose whatever I wanted. I had a whole bunch in my stash already from when I started crocheting. In an ideal world, you might choose a yarn that has like really good stitch definition so that the finished tapestry looks really crisp. Probably don't use like a fluffy yarn, you know what I mean? But I feel like that part is mostly common sense. So I know a lot of people also use like a Lily Sugar and Cream yarn, so that's 100% cotton yarn. If you want to do that, go ahead. At the end of the day, as long as you are using all yarn that is the same weight and you are comfortable using it and happy using it and you can see your stitches, then that's a great place to start. And from there, as you get like more and more into tapestry crochet, you can try different things and see which one you like the look of best. I obviously have now a new yarn line, and I know that one of our yarns is really good for tapestry crochet because that is what I tested it with. So if you're interested, feel free to check that out. But at the end of the day, yeah, it doesn't really matter. So those are all of my official tips. I think the only extra thing I would say is that when you are weaving in ends, like on your project at the very end, I always try and weave in the ends of a color under the same color on the project, just so that there's like minimal chance of anything peeking through if there's any like slightly looser stitches or anything like that. But other than that, I hope this has given you enough little starting tips to go and have a crack. Start on a small project, give tapestry crochet a go, see if you like it before you commit to a massive project, because otherwise you'll end up just like abandoning it halfway through and it'll sit in your whip pile forever. If you are a tapestry crocheter and you have any additional tips to leave for people down in the comments, please go ahead. And if you have any other questions about tapestry crochet, please drop them below. I am more than happy to respond to comments and stuff like that. I try and get to everyone, even if it takes like a little bit of time. So please feel free to do that, and happy tapestry crocheting. Otherwise, I would love to see your projects. Feel free to tag me on Instagram if you give tapestry crochet a go, if this has like inspired you to finally just dive into the world. Please tag me on Instagram or TikTok or wherever you want so that I can cheer you on virtually. If you like this video or found any of it helpful, feel free to give it a like. And if you like this kind of crochet, crafty kind of content, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night or weekend or week, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this. Thank you for spending time with me. Thanks for being here, and I will see you for the next video. Bye! Somewhere in here, there'll be something I can edit together.